We'll do the hurling on tomorrow's show. Today we're doing Gaelic football. Anthony Moyles is with us. Owen said, "I'm sorry for your trouble" when you walked in and you went, "I'm not happy." What has you? How are you feeling?
I'm not feeling good.
Lie back on the couch here and reveal all.
I don't know if we've enough time. Honestly, we'll have to go for an extension. Yeah. Where do I start? My wife was away for the weekend playing basketball, so I had my two girls, 7 and 5, and I bigged up the game probably early doors last week, you know.
Oh, you're living in Meath now. You used to live in Dublin, so what colour jerseys are they wearing?
Oh no, they were wearing. One had an old Manoli Holmes that I signed for a niece of mine, and it got the whole team, so that was well worn, shall we say. Oh, they were kitted out. They had the shorts, the hats, everything rolling on. Looking forward to it. One was a big sell. I had to promise her plenty of chocolate and various things, and a hot dog at half time. So that got me over the hesitation, shall we say, because all she kept saying to me was, "Dad, the boys are going to get hammered. The girls will win, but the boys won't." So
turns out she knows more about football than we do.
I should have just stopped right there and cut the grass for the day. But no, I pushed on, and in we went. Surprisingly little traffic. In we went into the game, and I got there. I said I'll risk it. You know these things, Ger. There's a short window of concentration. So I said I'll get a bit of the Kildare Westmeath game, which I got a bit more of than I expected. So anyway, the promise was. Went in, the atmosphere, and I know you guys have been talking about it, the Kildare Westmeath game, you know, although there was actually 5 or 6 points in it, but it was done, you know. Never looked like Westmeath were ever going to get the required scores to come back. And there was just this sense of inevitability, and let's not even go there on the Meath game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so anyway, I decided, listen, let's try get them going here. So the hot dog was requested very, very quickly. So I said, right, this is a bit risky. Will I try the hot dog before now or half time? Went downstairs. This is our national stadium, of course, so I thought, won't be an issue. You know, there's only 30-odd thousand people here. And it's not like this is a surprise. They were expecting 2,000. But there was no hot food. Zero. No hot dogs. Hardly any chips.
They sold out?
Nothing. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So this young girl, not her fault of course, about 15 years of age, and I said, no hot dogs. My two girls beside me, forlornly looking up at me with big puppy dog eyes.
You promised. I promised.
I
It's
promised.
your fault.
So I got past with a packet of wine gums and a packet of crisps.
Right.
Not too bad. And the promise was, half-time in the big game, we'll have one. Anyway, down 5 minutes before half-time, I said I'd beat the traffic, get down early. No hot food whatsoever. The plant-based burgers, which were going for €7, by the way, the plant-based burgers, even they were gone. So not an absolute thing. I took a picture of it. Like, I actually couldn't believe it. I said to the girl, there is actually no hot food in this whole place. She's like, no, sorry, we're out of everything. I was like, that's amazing. I said, absolutely amazing. I said, an ice cream. I said, we'll have an ice cream. The girls, ice cream, this was true to tears. No, we've no ice creams left. I was like, okay, what have you got? Pints of Guinness, pint of Heineken. Like, unfortunately, no. Although I would have taken about 10 of them at that stage because the stress levels were that high. So, needless to say, the day went from bad to worse.
You've seen the Michael Douglas film Falling Down, have you?
Yes, it was one of those moments. You saying breakfast is over? So, but, you know, I just started thinking about the whole kind of thing. You know, I can't believe GA and Croke Park, whoever has the contract, I'm just amazed that, you know, you go to our national stadium on a big, big day, 30-something thousand people, and you manage to run out of food in the thing. Like, it wasn't, like, it's not, as I said, it wasn't like a surprise.
What if there were 60,000 there, you know?
Yeah, and I'm just kind of, you know, the atmosphere of the thing. Like, you were in there, Owen. Like, it was absolutely, like, before there was a minute silence, absolutely perfect. Yeah, fine, 100%. Then you have there was actually a bit of applause, and then you go straight into the national anthem. And there was not even, I used to kind of give out about this loud music being pumped over the tannoy, but there was absolutely nothing. It was so dead. It was so dead. It was like being at a morgue. And there was this air of inevitability about the game as soon as it started. Like, I looked down at the two girls, and I have to say, I felt sorry for them. I felt sorry for kids around me, Dublin and Meath kids, you know, that it was just, this is something you're being dragged to by your parents for 4 hours, and it is zero fun. It is nothing. There's nothing on display. There's nothing going on. There's nothing at half time to get enthused about. There's no sense of spectacle, no sense of atmosphere. And it's expensive. You know, like we got 2 little punnets of chips eventually because I stayed down for about 10 minutes after. And eventually they must have got the deep fat fryer going and threw in the old McCain chips. And I think they were €5 a punnet. Like, you know, for people going out with a clatter of kids, it's an expensive day out. And then even ordering the tickets, I had to pay 3 adult tickets because I wanted to sit in the Hogan. And the only tickets that you can buy online with family are in the Davin.
Right.
So you can't actually separate it out. So anyway, that was €90. Now, not that it's a massive deal, but like you're just kind of going, like literally from the start, you're saying, come on, we can do this better. Surely we can do this better.
You'd think so. We could have had the games. I was saying home and away. So that game's in Navan. And the other game is in Mullingar, Athlone, wherever, like somewhere, right, where there's an opportunity for there to be an atmosphere and a bit of a home thing and local support. But instead it's in Croker. I don't know, obviously they feel like they need to get Croker back up and running after COVID, but it didn't make any sense, particularly because earlier in the year they'd said that maybe those games won't be. And that gave us all a little bit of hope that some progression had come into the thinking. And
yeah, and like if you're talking about, so I'm 100% behind you on that front. And I know we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago about saying, right, take it out of Croker, pack a couple of places, because there is something magical about going to, you know, a provincial town, it being kind of shut down for the day, and an unbelievable atmosphere with 15 or 20,000 people in it, or whatever it is. Croke Park is lost, so you can hear the players, like you can hear them roaring at each other. You can hear, there was a particular individual who obviously was on it early behind me, way up, and you could hear him roaring at different things, and it's just like there's cursing going on. There's just like, I mean, and you're just kind of going, this is just absolute disaster zone. But as I say, the fact of the matter is, this thing of, you know, like I feel for Meath, I feel for lots of teams in Leinster, because you're coming up against the juggernaut that is Dublin, right? There, for the grace of God, a lot of other counties don't come up against them every single year, right? And this is doing Meath, Kildare, whoever else that meets them, absolutely zero good. It's doing the counties zero good. It's doing Leinster zero good.
But the players all want to play games in Croke Park.
Correct,
it's
but
their dream.
Exactly. So this idea of, oh well, we have to hold on to the provincials because, you know, the history and all that. This is killing football. It's absolutely killing football, and it's killing. Like if I was a kid there and I'm 7 or 10 or 15 or 12, and I mean, a good pal of mine was there with his young lads. They play with Dunsany, good, really good players. I'm kind of looking at them. They're looking at their heroes getting an absolute whooping, right? And this is not the first time. And they're kind of saying to themselves, well, you know what, I play a bit of basketball and I do swimming or I do athletics, and, you know, is this what I'm aspiring to out here? You know, and I'm saying to the girls driving home, listen, the supporters is about being there in the good days and the bad days, all that kind of stuff. But it's not doing the sport any good at all. Now, that's not to say that, you know, Dublin have to do what they have to do, and Meath were pretty abject on the day, and we can get into that again. But at the same time, it is doing, as I said, the sport absolutely no good. It's doing the counties no good, because, like, I thought Meath were advancing a bit after last year, and I'm saying there's a lot of good work being done, there's a lot of good work being in the county, but where does that put you now? Like, imagine you're there given 7 nights of your free time in the assistance of Meath football, and then this is the fruits of the labour that you see after 3 or 4 years. Whether you're at the under-16s, the minors, the 20s, this is what you're looking at, and you're just kind of going, oh my God. Like, we were chatting on Friday, Nigel Crawford was on the thing, and he was telling me his young lad, Nigel lives up in Rathfarnham, and his lad plays with, I think, Ballyboden. He's under 10, I think, or under 11s. There were 6 teams. So he was one of 3 teams playing on one pitch, and there was another 3 teams playing on another. So there was 6 teams of under 10 or under 12s. That's 6 15s with substitutes at that age. So, like, that is the reality. That's one club team, which has a pick of about 70 or 80 kids. You know, sorry, more. You know, coming through. And you're in a situation, like, I mean, that even big clubs in Meath, the Ratotes, the Dunamore Ashburns, the Dunshaughlins, the Navan O'Mahonys, the Simonstowns, they might only have 1 team, maybe maximum 2 teams at that age. So you have 6 versus 2. So, like, the odds are you're going to get more talent from the 6.
Can I just make a point on that as well? And to look at it from the complete opposite perspective on that, Anthony, which kind of backs up your point about the whole promotion of the games. So I was just kind of thinking about this over the last couple of days. If you look at Gaelic football as like this marketable thing, who are your biggest stars in Gaelic football? Let's say Dublin's biggest star right now is Brian Fenton or Con O'Callaghan, the most marketable people for one of the more marketable counties. And you've got a 5.5-month window with which to use these people between the start of February and the middle of July now, let's not forget. You look to go back, and if you look at the window between, I think it was the 25th of March when they got relegated by Monaghan, and the 25th of June when they will play an All-Ireland quarter-final. They will have played a game of no consequence. Now, maybe Kildare will put it up against them in the Leinster final. A game of zero consequence. The weather's been good. The hurlers are getting great exposure. They'll have played a Leinster championship in that window. To hammer that home even more, David Clifford, the most marketable person in Munster right now, he'll have played 2 games in 12 weeks between the league final and an All-Ireland quarter-final against Cork and against Limerick. Like, this is just such a waste of time. You've got this massive tranche of weeks going by where these lads are playing A versus B games in training. Like, Brian Fenton is playing against Tom Lahiff behind closed doors more than he's playing against any other top midfielder in the country. David Clifford is being marked by Tom O'Sullivan more than he's being marked by any top defender.
If it wasn't for SuperValue pushing Clifford and O'Hora into the public domain last week, we wouldn't have heard anything or thought about David Clifford, really. It would have
missed the league. I missed the pissing rain in Tralee watching these games.
Yeah.
Well, you missed the standard. You missed the competition at a required level and at the requisite level of where you are, and that's all that you're looking for. That's why every single pretty much sport in the world has divisions. Like, I mean, you are at this level. Yes,
the
we're at this level.
But you have it at club level.
Exactly.
They understand that.
Correct.
Like, people would stop coming to the clubs if the competition was as bad as the senior intercounty competition. They would stop going. They would have no interest in it.
Of course they would. Absolutely. And why do people keep going into clubs? Because there's always a feeling that particular year we're going to do it. We've got Jimmy in, who's the new manager, or the young lad has come up and he's kicking the lights out. Whatever. There's always hope.
We're playing teams of a similar standard.
Yesterday for me, the hope was literally, whatever hope was there, it was extinguished, and it was absolutely extinguished. And I'm genuinely worried about, like, I don't think Kildare, I hope they do. I genuinely hope they do put up a fight, but I'm scared at what could happen there, because Dublin are, we've spoken about this till the cows come home during the league. They've never gone away. No. Last year was an absolute blip. It was a misnomer. Like, I mean, they are there.
Even then, they nearly got into the All-Ireland final. Like,
yeah, exactly. And by the way, last year could have been a sup to kind of say, listen, lads, the county might get split up. We might give it All-Ireland to someone because we're going to win the next 10 anyway. Like, genuinely, bar Kerry, literally bar Kerry, because I was a little bit disappointed with Derry, and again, we can get into that yesterday. Like, they're just light years ahead. And it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game at the end of the day. And when I give that a pure example of 6 teams of 15, so that's 90, and then you throw in whatever else you've got. Is that 90? Yeah, it is.
Is there a possibility they're not playing 15 aside? Because I know our under 10s, under 11s are actually they're more 9 aside, 10 aside games.
Even if
but
they're
whatever,
10 aside,
yeah.
there's still 80 or 90 kids, relative.
And that's just 1 year. It's not actually
correct.
12s.
Yeah.
They'll have an under 10s, 11s and 12s.
It's I think the GAA, whether it's the lack of hot dogs at halftime, right, or whether it's the Talton Cup, this idea of splitting it north-south, like, come on, seriously? You know, it's not like we're living in America. We're not living on a landmass that it takes you 55 hours to go from one end to the other. You get on a bus, drive an extra bit of an hour on the bus and get to where you need to go. Like, if I was the northern teams, I'd be saying, well, Ulster's probably meant to be one of the strongest provincials. And yet now you're sticking us in the same thing and you're going to wither us away. Yeah. Let us play some of the lads down south. We want to play the teams in Munster. We want to play the teams in Leinster. But actually, no, lads, you can have it again. You can do your Ulster Championship again and see how you get on. Like that again for me is a kind of a thing of, you had an opportunity to do something and you managed to put a little subline in there somewhere, which kind of caught everyone. Like, I heard Tomás O'Shea last week. It has.
They weren't sure if they were north or south. They obviously would have depended on the number of teams who came through. So, like,
yeah. Anyway,
this
one, ranting.
Let me. This might provoke another rant from you. Shane says, Anthony, Meath football is in a shambles. They have regressed in the past 10 years due to poor management at board and county level. It's of Meath's own doing.
Oh, yeah. Like, if the company is, to bring a business sense in this, the company is continually making a loss and you can't get any kind of decent results, you would have to say, let's have a look at the board and the executive, right?
Yeah.
That's it. The employees will come and go, which it is. The playing employees and the guys who are out there will come and go. There was some success. There has been some success in the last number of years with minors and under 20s. The transition of it into the senior team, it was looked at, because I know I was giving out about this last year, whereby fellas were playing to kind of under 17 and then they were kind of being just let back to their clubs. So there has been a pathway developed which has kept them true to hopefully developing them into the senior team. I think, does it need a major overhaul? They have been trying to make major overhauls. I know they're in the process of making major overhauls, and these things just don't change overnight.
I do think part of it is chicken and egg, where really good people who would like to get involved don't get involved because they see the game is stacked, and so therefore, and that's not to say that the county doesn't deserve to take some of the blame for what's happened. There is a big population in Meath, there's a big population in Kildare. Kildare have eventually gotten some of their house in order, and they're getting more of their house in order, and they seem to have more of the right people involved now, and maybe that's about to happen in Meath too, I don't know, but they need to take some responsibility for what happened. But the game is rigged, and so therefore a lot of people who would be interested in getting involved, a lot of corporates who would be interested in spending money are like, well, what do we get? We get hammered by the Dubs.
The game is rigged, but to counteract that, because things will just change. They'll stay the same unless you change them, right? So you have to first of all, if you're going to a corporate to try and bring them on, you have to obviously realise the elephant in the room, which is Dublin, right? They are the big boy. So you have to say, listen, yes, there is that potential of every single time in Leinster, but I tell you what we're going to do. We are trying to make incremental changes here. These are our key performance indicators. You want to use all that old speak, right? These are the things that we're trying to get. And even so far as that, you're then trying to pull people in because you're giving them a vision of 10 years or whatever it is. And I know that's, people can throw that out, but I think I'd say I'll go back 10 years and I was talking about the same thing. So we could be 10 years hence now, by the way. Could there be, like, even when you look at the performance yesterday, I'm sure the management team yesterday had certain things, because if you get caught up in the result of a big game and the result playing against Dublin, you're 99% of the way you're going to have a failure, right? So the day is going to seem like a failure to you if you do not win. But yet, if you're like Cork versus Kerry a couple of weeks ago, they'll say to themselves, right, we're being written off here completely. Like, no one's given us an opportunity. So what we're going to do is we have areas that we need to look at. We have tackle rate in the first half, turnover, and many times we keep them down to a certain amount of shots. We look at how many times we can turn the ball over, how many kickouts we win, whatever those little statistics are in each game, and then you go and you try to execute. Where are Cork now? Cork are probably saying to themselves, actually, you know what, this is something we can build on. Like, I mean, teams have been themselves, could we get to 60 minutes next year against Kerry? And in 2 or 3 years' time, can we get to 70 minutes against Kerry and actually really start to... That's their... So they're looking ahead. Meath, I think, after yesterday, are probably looking backwards now, saying, well, where are we again? That question mark over, where are we? Everyone will say it. Who's to blame? Well, everyone is to blame. Yeah. I'm to blame. Like, I mean, literally everyone is to blame. No one is shy of failure in this. And blaming, say, Andy McEntee or the management team, or indeed the players, it's yes, there's some players who hid yesterday. Yes, there's some players who looked, I think, at that Dublin team, and it was kind of a la the Mike Tyson situation that as soon as Tyson used to walk into the ring, fellas used to nearly just fall over because they were like, I'm bet.
And last year was supposed to be the end of that. Like, that was the whole point. And the league was supposed to be the beginning of the end of this. But actually, like we were saying earlier, their generational players look lean and fit and hungry and rested in some instances and ready to go. Like mad for road again to remind us all that they were the greatest team of all time, and that just because some of them are gone, they're still here.
Mad for road. Yeah.
The power rankings, obviously, are Dublin ahead of Kerry in your head now? Right, like, the All-Ireland finals tomorrow, everybody we think is available fit for both teams. Who are favourites?
Oh, it's very tight. It's very tight. Like, it's massively come in. And what's come in is, I think Meath butchered a couple of chances that they had. I thought they could have been a bit more expansive. I actually got a decent enough view of the game where it was, and there were runs being made, and there was a couple of times where it was 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 in the full forward line, and the fellas just didn't receive the ball. Desi has obviously decided, you know what, I can trust Mick Fitzsimons with my life, in the sense of against one-on-one situations. And if you remember Morris's chance in the first half where he kind of ended up just dribbling it wide. He slipped first of all when he initially got the ball, but Fitzsimons' defending was absolutely brilliant. He stayed on his feet. He pushed him out to his right foot because he knew he was predominantly left-footed. So when you have players and when you have the belief in that, you're happy enough to do that. And it obviously means that they can push more forward. They were scoring at will yesterday, like pretty much. I don't think a Meath lad got a hit on. So that's again chicken and eggs type situation, Jer. Was it because they had just so much fluidity in that forward line, fellas running a pace off angles, able to put balls into the spaces that they want, really intensive running, like savagely. Like Costello had an unbelievable game yesterday. Every time he got the ball, he just thought, right, I'm taking you on and I'm going for it.
There's a chance he's peaking, like because he's been around for so long. He burst on the scene as a teenager and never quite got to the point where he was going to be the star, but now there's a chance he's the star, and actually at 28 we might be about to see the best of him as well. Like,
yeah, you could be. Like, again, and I caveat all of this with, the fear thing is a big thing, right? The fear thing is a big thing. And I've talked about the Mike Tyson thing. And Meath aren't alone in this. And Kildare, to have an opportunity against Dublin, can't have that. They have to decide. Like, if I'm a cornerback and I'm marking Costello, I'm standing in front of Costello. I'm saying, listen, if you want that ball, you're going to have to get out by me and do everything you can to get that. I'm just taking I'm taking a chance. I might get caught a couple of times in behind, but I'm actually showing, and I'm even in my own psychology, in my own head, I'm saying that I'm willing to take this chance against you, because, like, standing behind, trying to hope that you get balls off them, trying to hope that it's not going to happen.
I mean, there's a chance that Kildare score 2-16 against the Dubs, but there's a chance the Dubs score 4-24 in the same game, and it's like a crazy shootout. We'll come back to that because we have a couple of weeks. But we've got about a minute left here. Derry and the job that's been happening over the last couple of years. Yeah. They're gonna be licking their chops ahead of the Ulster final. So there's room for improvement, it sounds like, you think?
Yeah, I think there is room for improvement. I thought Monaghan will probably leave that game feeling, the first half I thought they kicked a lot of bad wides, Monaghan. Now, they were under pressure. Derry have an unbelievably strong defensive system. Passing players on, keeping a core amount of players in the right area, fellas with different matchups, they don't get caught. They have two unbelievable generals in there with McKay and Rogers, right? So, like, McKay is like, listen, give me anyone, I'll look after it. And the communication that they have, Lynch steps up as the goalkeeper and directs an awful lot of stuff. So they keep you out of that exclusion zone, and they say, listen, if you're going to kick them, you're kicking them from way out. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. And it was kind of writing on the walls early in the game when McManus kicked one, if you remember, that he would normally get, and he just kind of pulled it. You're kind of saying, but they weren't. Monaghan showed a way, though, I think, of defending against them, which other teams, and probably Donegal will certainly say, okay, this is an area where we can hurt them, because I thought they got lucky a couple of times in some of the opportunities. They still deserve to win it, but when they got to within 3, Monaghan still had the pressure on. They kicked a couple of bad wides, and then they got caught badly just for the next goal. They're moving well, and I think, as I said, with Glass was imperious yesterday, absolutely, like, just constantly moving, like, perpetual motion, very, very strong around the middle of the field. McKinless didn't have as good a game as he had in the last day out, but they've a very, very, very strong spine, and they've got a savage amount of pace on the wings.
Is there something about this Rory Gallagher bounce that is oddly reminiscent of Jim McGuinness in 2012? Like, obviously there's a connection with him and Jim McGuinness, but it kind of feels like the game plan they have is kind of kryptonite for a lot of teams in Ulster. It just feels like, again, this is me getting completely carried away with just the raw emotion of Gallagher for 2 of the 3 goals yesterday. I'm just looking at, like, this momentum. I'm like, could this thing carry them all the way?
Yeah, well, there's probably half of that. It probably was himself and Banty's probably passed. So I'd say there was a bit of that jumping around, just to kind of say, right, well, I'm really sticking it to you here. He has endowed them with an unbelievable amount of confidence and belief, right? And he is that type of an individual, I'd say, in the sense of we're building the platform, and we're giving you the structure and the strategy, and if you just do what we're meant to do, we will get there. Obviously it's taken a while, but they can see forward momentum all the time. So when we go back to those things that you want in a game, although you might get bet, what do we want to achieve? They're doing all of those things on. So the belief is there between the players, between the management, and they're heading to the North Star, and they will deserve it because they've had some serious games to get there. They're battle hardened.
They're not beating chumps,
No, absolutely not.